Okay. We are live. We are live. I can go through and edit all this stuff out too. Yeah, we are live. Okay. How exciting. Well, welcome to episode 37 of our Mission Out podcast. And as of right now, I'm going to blow myself up a little bit so people can see me talking. Like I said, yeah, by the way, too, when we get started, guys, if you're listening on Facebook or YouTube, you might want to cut that part off because it's going to be a feedback that's going to go through. You see what I'm saying? So if you're listening, and either one of the platforms, go ahead and use some feedback. So that's, I think that's me. My bad. Okay. All right, my bad. Yeah, I hear me doing all the damn talking, and that's me doing that. Okay. All right. So welcome. This is so exciting, man. Man, speaking out our very first video podcast, streaming across Facebook and YouTube. And I'm very excited because now we just kind of taking this platform to another level. And today, to celebrate this, I have some dear friends of mine on the call with episode 37. And this is basically going to be a three-part series titled Men on Fire. Right? So what is Men on Fire? Well, everybody knows that, we go through a lot, right? And not saying that women don't go through themselves either, but we go through quite a bit when it comes to trying to be the provider, the priest, the prophet, the protector of our homes. And also too, before I get started, I want to actually, today's a good day, right? Because justice will serve today. You know what I mean? Justice will serve today. And I want to my hats off to the, I know that's right. I see. I know that's right. And I want to basically say to the family of George Floyd, congratulations, justice has been served. And this is also a milestone podcast too, because we're able to celebrate that part of history, and hopefully that will bring change moving forward and send a message to these crooked police officers that shit's over. You know what I mean? The time has come. Justice is for everybody. So, but getting back onto the podcast, I want to share it real quickly. This is part one of the Men on Fire series, and the title of this one is called basically, What Am I Asking a Man to Do? So, what are y'all asking a man to do to me? What are y'all asking a man to do? What are you being asked to do? Corey, what are you being asked to do? Like I said before, we are considered the priests, the provider, and protectors of our home. But how do we know being treated that way, right? How do we know if that we are being treated in a manner that is going to be respectable, appreciated, and, from our women? So what I want to do real quickly here, I'm going to go around the room for those this applies to, and I'm going to ask the question is that, how do you know that you're being appreciated? And if you're a woman, of course, obviously the speaker, how do you know you're showing appreciation for your man if he is the priest, protector, and provider? So, Corey, if you can go first on this, why don't you go ahead and give me your thoughts about how do you know you've been appreciated?
Well, that's something, I think it depends on how you take appreciation. What do you consider being appreciated? Is it, coming home and, fixing you my meal or something like that? And that's not it for me. I think with me, I'm one where just acknowledge that you appreciate what I'm doing and you see the efforts that I'm making to make things easier across the board. I'm not one that needs a lot of accolades or anything like that to feel appreciated, because sometimes I step back and I look at and I can appreciate what I'm doing, knowing that I'm making things easier for my family. If it's my kids, if it's my wife, or whatever. Where it comes in is when you don't feel that appreciation. How do you express that, and how do they perceive it? Sometimes they don't perceive it or give you appreciation that you feel you need, and so that causes conflicts or causes drama in the relationship. And that's where you gotta communicate. Now, that's, I think a lot comes back to communication. You know, if you communicate that and what you need to feel appreciated or to feel special, then and your mate doesn't listen or doesn't show that they're making an attempt, then that's where the problem comes, and that's what I think divides and breaks up marriages more than anything, is the lack of feeling appreciated by your spouse. I don't think it's money or anything like that, because with money, we all have issues with money. You can be a millionaire and have issues with money, but when you feel that you're not being appreciated or respected in your relationship, that's what divides it.
Okay, I appreciate that. I'm gonna go ahead and step in and ask Tamika a question. How do you know that, if you got a man that's, like I said, the priest, the provider, the protector, how do you know that you're showing him appreciation for being the man he is for you? You're muted. You got it. You're on mute.
So it kind of goes off of what Corey said. I would know that he's feeling appreciated based off his communication, and most of all, based off his happiness. Because if he's happy, I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing. If he's not feeling appreciated, I'm going to see that in some type of way. Either he's, grumpy at home, not coming home, you know, things of that nature. And then there needs to be a conversation about what's going on. Um, I'm big on affirmation, giving affirmations. So um, I definitely would express it verbally, physically. So
Okay.
I would know based off his mood and his happiness.
Okay. No, that's cool. That's what's up. How about you, Eric? What do you, as a man, as being a leader of your household, how do you, like I said, the protector, the priest, the provider, how do you feel that, what makes you feel appreciated, in your household?
The way that my mate would actually give me those acts of affirmation. So if I'm the head and not the tail, and I'm the leader of my household, then I would like for her to acknowledge that, you know what, I'm being respected or my needs are being met, whether it be, just a kind word or some type of physical touch or just a description saying, hey, I appreciate you. I love you. And granted, I think that could come at any stage, but I think it's more perceived, at least in my eyes and the way I feel, is somewhere when those affirmations are given, when I am, looking for that, what I say would be appreciation. Like if I just went in and I did a big project fixing, the patio, or I just, not too long ago put an alternator in the car. We saved ourselves a lot of money. A lot of money working on the cars, making sure it's clean, serviced and all that. So my things that sometimes can seem so normal and minute, that's a man's job. At least I would think in the other aspect of that from my mate, showed me those forms of affirmation saying, hey, you know what, baby, I appreciate you. You know what? Here, let me fix you, your favorite meal for dinner or something like that. So I think, we can get so comfortable within a long-term relationship and those things get missed.
Okay. Thank you for sharing.
I want to say one thing, that I think personally, for me, I don't want you to show appreciation after I'm upset or I'm mad or I'm frustrated. So now I'm like, okay, I'm going out. I'm getting away. Don't wait until I'm upset to show appreciation. That's where the problem comes in. If you know me and because we've been together, what it is that I need to show me that you appreciate me. Don't wait until I'm feeling unappreciated to start appreciating me, because at that point, it's to me, it's bullshit. Excuse my French, but it's not. You know, it's a waste. It's too late at that time. I'm at a point now where you just doing it because I'm showing you I'm upset. Why does it have to wait until I show you I'm upset for you to appreciate me?
And that's a valid point if I chime in, Corey, because you want to be proactive. You know, at both ends of the spectrum. And I think, Bazz, you and I have had this conversation not too long ago, about a week or so ago, when we were talking about just the acts of buying flowers. And it doesn't have to be for a birthday or Valentine's Day, or, you know, it's just because, you know, and that's a very conscious effort, Corey, saying, hey, don't wait till I'm upset, or don't wait till there's an issue. And now you want to smooth things out with showing, you know, your forms of affirmation and appreciation. It should be random. It should be, you know, on a regular basis, if it can be.
It should be. That's a key word, key phrase. It should be. And as a matter of fact, we've got two other people ready to jump onto the stream. I believe we got the Big O who just joined in. What's going on, Big O? You're on mute, my man. I can't hear you talking.
So sorry. I am so sorry. How is everyone doing this evening?
Good. We got
excellent.
We got Patty.
What's going on, Big O?
What's up, man? What's up? Another beautiful day.
Hi, Patty. How you doing?
Hey, I'm good. Can y'all hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you now. You look like you're walking down the strip. I see palm trees and sunlight. We got a lot of snow here, so anything to make me feel better is all right. Okay, thank you for joining. Thank you for joining, Big O. We appreciate that. We were just,
Glad to be here.
Men being the priest, the provider, and the protector of the household, and how are they being shown appreciation from their spouse or their mate, and how do they feel appreciated from that, you know, from being that person in the household who is keeping it all together. Then I would say the glue, basically. You know, so I'm gonna let you guys comment on that, and then of course, but before you do, we got Isaiah and Izzy Palmer up top, and these are young men who are basically want to give us their insight. Of course, obviously, they ain't talking about no spouses because they're young men, they've been married, you know what I mean? So, you know, y'all make sure y'all stay on the girlfriend tip, which is a totally different philosophy, but still, I want your insight, both of you. And, you know, basically, and more for you, Isaiah, because you're older and you have a little more experience than your brother. More or less, how do you feel that you've been appreciating the relationships that you've been in your young relationship life?
I feel like personally, I feel more appreciated when it comes to the aspect when someone will go out their way to do something for you, and it may not, quote unquote, be comfortable for them or maybe convenient for them, but they want to do something for you to make you happy. I like the point that Corey made about pretty much saying, though, how I don't really truly like feel appreciated. Like, it can't be one of those things of like, oh, now I'm upset and now you want to do something because you see that I'm upset. But just that random acts of kindness that like truly sticks with me, and that really truly helps me feel appreciated. Like when I'm like talking to someone or I'm dealing with a woman. That they would go out there way like, hey, I did this for you, like without me even asking. I'm like, oh wow, like you thought of me, different things like that. So that's probably just like random acts of kindness. I'm very big when me and Mr. Shabazz, we talked about the different love languages. Like I'm very big on like affirmation, very big on reassurance. I like to know like, hey, like I love you, or like, hey, like you look good today, or hey, like you the only man that I talk to, or like I look at, or like I see, like just some random acts of confirmation just goes a long way with me, because it just kind of keeps that kind of like that love like in the air, and it keeps it fresh and it keeps it fun. So, and I feel like a lot of people take that for granted. I feel once like a lot of people, they get comfortable once they get someone or they're with someone for a long time, they start to get very comfortable, and they stop doing those little things that like made you get that person. So, and once that little thing stops, that's when I don't like really feel appreciated anymore. So
yeah, they call it complacency. So that's what they do. You get complacent in relationships, and so you stop doing what you did to get the person. You know, I think somebody said on this podcast, what you did to get the man That's what you need to do to keep your man. But we're not gonna go ahead today. That's coming down in part 2. Well, go ahead, Big O. You're up. And you need it, by the way. So yeah. So tell me, what do you think, and how have you shown appreciation?
Well, first of all, I just want to say thank you for inviting me here today, and I really think that this conversation is a conversation that needs to be heard. For me personally, I guess I don't mean to sound selfish, but I think that for me to feel appreciated is that my needs are basically met, like my emotional needs, mental needs, physical needs, just the basic needs of a human being. You know, the need to be loved, a need to be understood, and I think that when that doesn't happen in the relationship or in the marriage per se, then I feel like those needs are basically not being met.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Patty,
Yeah.
you're up. You are up. You're on mute, by the way, too. So let you know. So how do you show appreciation in your relationship? She has been dark over. Okay. Might come back to Patty. She is for the viewers out there. She is on vacation, so she took the liberty to check in and call in. What is Patty?
Hey, you know what? Just give me 1 second, because I'm pulling up from the house, or what I keep, I'm being on and off. So when I pull up from the house, I'll be able to hear better. Just give me like 1 minute, I'm so sorry.
Yeah, you sound kind of choppy a little bit there. So, all right, give me a second here. Might be okay. You okay? Well, we can always come back to Patty. That's for sure. So here's a we'll move right along here. Okay, we'll go around the room, and of course, obviously, I'm gonna start with Tamika because we love you so much. That's what we're talking to you. All right. So women want a man to do what? Now, of course, this is a complete 1,000-point list out there that women want a man to do. But I broke it down to the top 11. So I'm gonna tell you what I think, what I've learned, what I researched. Women want a man, and you can say, you can check it off or you can X it out. Women want a man to learn her love language. Number 1, learn her love language. Number 2, they want a man to listen. They want a man to be romantic and intimate. They want a man to be sensitive to their needs. They want a man to appreciate her. They want a man to respect her. They also want a man to be loyal, right? And they want a man to make her feel secure, to compliment her, to be supportive. And last but not least, not to take her for granted. Am I missing anything in that list that you feel?
Provide. I didn't hear provide, but
yeah, well, that's quite obvious. Please provider, protector, from the title.
Did you say that? Did you say provide or
provide? No. But when I say make her feel secure, I believe that sometimes that kind of plays a little bit of a role in that too. Because if you're secure financially, if you're secure, providing for rooftop, or roof on your head, or cold on your back, food on your table. I think that's somewhat. I mean, to me personally, but see, that's where men and women differ, right? See, my interpretation of that word "provide" could be security.
Yeah, and see, security for me, I would, in my mind, is protection.
Okay. All right.
So, but your list is absolutely correct, but I think that goes both ways. Most of those things, men want the same thing. But yes, we do want some type of sensitivity, but then again, we want that strong man that's a protector. So are you saying we asking for too much?
No, not yet, because we got a list too.
I would say most of those things are on you guys' list too, but you absolutely correct. All of those things, yes.
All those things, okay, and then so, okay.
Do we don't always get them all, but that's that's where compromising comes in and communication.
Okay. Patty, are you with us? Can you comment on that?
Can you hear me?
Barely hear you. You're a little choppy. But it's okay. You can't, you're on vacation. We're just trying to get your opinion in here too. If you can.
Yeah, I hear y'all. Like I said, I hear Tamika that I was going to say. I don't know. It's like nowadays men think being vulnerable or sensitive makes them a little bitch or something. You know what I mean? Or or it's a bad thing for a man to show their their emotions.
Okay. Yeah, that's I can respect that because we are humans too, right? You know what I'm saying? I mean,
exactly, and that's where a lot of problems come in. Yeah, and that's where a lot of problems come in relationship because men sometimes men think they have to be a certain way as well as women. You know what I'm saying? Especially these women nowadays because we are living in this world where the women think that they are higher than the man now. So that's becoming a clash. That's where relationships clash in that now.
Yeah, that's definitely true. And I tell you this, we're actually gonna kind of go into that towards the end of the show because I've got a bullet point listed just for that purpose. I think right now I want to get into the list what men want from a woman. Well, first they want sex, silence, and sandwiches. Keep me, shut the fuck up. You know what I mean? That's what I want. Give me that. You know what I mean? Give me that.
But that shit like all the time. That's the men problem. That shit don't go away all the time. And when you get in a relationship, that shit don't work like all the time. And when you get in a relationship, you got to compromise. You get what I'm saying? Even if you go into a relationship saying, okay, well, I want a woman to fuck me 5 days a week. Whatever, who can't fuck you 5 days a week. You get what I'm saying? So you only can do 3 days a week. So now you got to compromise. Now you got to change something within yourself that you want it. You know what I'm saying?
Okay. Maybe 4.5 days. Not 5 days. I can go 4.5, 2.5 days. I'm stop this.
Hold on, Jamil. So is that it? Those the 3 things? Didn't we start this off with appreciation?
I know it. And you know it, Tamika. It is. I think that's all niggas' motto. Shit.
That's right. Shit. Hey, the top of the list. Fuck me first. Fuck me second. Fuck me third. That's it. Now, for real.
So you saying you rather starve, but you rather have that nut and you rather starve. Right? That's what you saying.
I don't know, man. That's a great question. Let me get back to you on that. Well, I'm saying when men want like to compliment it, first of all, they want you to trust them, right? We want to be inspired. We also want you to allow us time with our friends or with our, from our colleagues. We want you to be supportive. We want you to have no better when you need. You know what I'm saying? Once you get nothing restricted in your space, in your private space. We want you to be for us, right? Be silent from time to time. Yes. Because it's just all in there. Just, down the list. Learn our love language. Okay? We got them too. And some of us may have more than one. Allow us to confide in you without judgment. You know what I'm saying? We all make mistakes. We have problems. Sometimes we don't want to run to our buddies. Sometimes we want to stay to the right in-house and talk to you for, see how you feel about it. And we want you to have a life. We want you to have a life outside of us. Because if you got a life outside of us, then guess what? That means we both got lives. And sometimes that right there can be a tremendous problem when it comes to relationships, especially if you ain't got shit to do. What did you say? Absent mind makes I forget your phrase you say all the time. You don't mute, by the way. You say absent mind makes a something. What is that?
I don't remember the actual affirmation that the motto. I don't remember.
Yeah, well, you said something to that effect. I'm saying you just slept since then, but I'm just saying, absent mind makes something does something, whatever. The devil something playground or something. Absent mind, the devil playground. I forget right offhand. But anyway, basically, find something to do. That's what we kind of say. So Big O, tell me what you think about that. You think that the list that I shared has any validity?
I think that the list, it has its the list has its merit. I think, like I said, at the end of the day, not to sound selfish, but I guess at the end of the day, when it's all said and done with, it's really about us as the individual, about self. But at the same time, and this goes back to, I think, our last conversation we had before, that people need to communicate. Communication is the key. That is so vital. And I think, once again, oftentimes that people, they figure out, well, after the fact, well, again, if only you would have told me, or if only I would have known, but if only you would have asked, and from the beginning, from the jump. So everything, like, we've always been told that communication is the key in everything, whether it be finances, whether it be sex, whether it be hobbies, whether it be work-related things. Communication is the key. And that's what happens. Oftentimes, most people, I find, when relationships fail, they fail because of the lack of communication, most of the time. The communication, there was that communication breakdown.
I think yes, communication, but it's the lack of listening. I think sometimes you can communicate to you until you blue in the face, but is that person listening? Because so many times when you communicate, people are so ready to come back. They don't take it in. They don't, okay, let me hear what you got. And then when you are listening and you take, and that person's communicating, and then they get done, and you don't, I'm one that I never jump in and automatically come with a response, because I want to analyze it, because I like to think about what you said before I'm just going to respond to it, or I act on it, or whatever it is. And then I try to answer in a way that's respectful, because you are my mate and I love you, and I'm going to tell you the honest and how I feel, but I'm not just going to come out and be blunt with it because I care about your feelings. So I'm going to tell you how I feel that you will interpret it. And then I'm also going to get confirmation that I understand what you're saying. So a lot of times I'm listening, I'm going to repeat back to you a little bit of what, and I do this in a lot, in business or whatever, but a relationship is just like a job. If you don't work on it, you're not going to be successful. You got to put time in that, and you got to listen. You got to take things in. There's times in a relationship you're going to wear several hats. You're never going to be I'm the king of this castle, all the time. It's times that as a man, we feel vulnerable. We want to be like, okay, I need to step back. I need my woman to be strong right now. And, and ain't nothing less for a man to say, hey, baby, I need you to take the reins with this. I need a minute, So when it comes to communication, you need that listening, that active listening, not that just, okay, I heard what you said and I can repeat back what you said. Are you actively listening to it and understand? And are you willing to compromise? Because I think, communication, but then you got to have compromise, because things are never going to be 100% your way. Can you accept a compromise? Can you listen and come up with something that y'all can work this out together?
Well, here we go.
Well, if I may respond, not to get too much in semantics, but in order for, I mean, if we go back to communication 101, in order for communication to be established, there has to be a sender and a receiver. So if two people shouting at each other is not communication. Like you said, that's why we have 2 ears and 1 mouth. You have to have someone listening and someone speaking, you see. And I believe, like you said about compromise, once it's understood that communication has been established, then we can move to that next step or that level 2 compromise. Because I think that's very important. That's a good point.
Well, so you also too. Now let's talk about that for a second, okay? I mean, Eric had said something earlier about one person being the head, another person being the tail, right? Right. So communication, listening, that is a taught behavior, right? Because initially you have to learn how to listen, and then you have to learn how to communicate, right? So if you sit and think about that math for a second, you got these 2 people, like you just said, both of them talking, nobody's listening to each other. Things are just going back and forth. So nothing's really getting accomplished. It's just a constant battle back and forth. So with that being said, and we're gonna talk about this, it kind of goes back to the 2 alphas, right? You can't have 2 in a household, only 1. Period. Right?
So you can't have 2 chefs in the kitchen, right?
No, you can't have 2 chefs in the kitchen, exactly. You can't have 2 captains of the football team. You got a captain of the defense, captain of the offense, but you got a captain of the team. Right? So you can't, it's not like a one captain of the ship. And when you look at one captain of the plane, you cannot have 2 captains. And so what happens is that this person's the captain, this person's the captain. Now, really, one of them's the first mate, but they both want to guide the ship, and they both, and the boat's not going nowhere. There's no progress being made. So the question I ask is, and I'm asking for the Eric, since he kind of put this idea in my head, and then of course Tamika, you can respond. Who's the head and who's the tail? Who should be the head and who should be the tail?
That question is directed to me, correct?
Correct.
I think every man should be the head of his household. He should. A wife should be the helpmate or helpmeet, as they say. Now, in that regard, it doesn't mean that you don't honor or disrespect your mate, but the man should be the head of the household. He should be the head.
Okay. So, thank you for answering that, Eric. Tamika, I'm going to ask you the same question, but I'm going to shift it over for a second. What if you have a man in your household who doesn't exhibit leadership abilities? Is he still the head because he's the man, or you assume that role?
That question is for me.
Yes, it is. It's for you.
Jamil, I'm getting feedback that you're the only one muffled too.
Oh,
from the people watching live.
Okay.
Yeah, he's muffled with me too.
I'm definitely in agreement that the man is the head and he is the leader of the household. We had this conversation last week where now I feel like there could be 2 alphas, but an alpha woman is going to step down in the household for the alpha male. Tail, I wouldn't say tail. I would rather say rib.
Okay.
Tomato.
No.
Go ahead. Why do you say rib?
I mean, and he said it himself, help me. Like, so I'm there to help you. I'm by your side. I'm not the tail. Well, and maybe that's me because I am an alpha female. I will step down for the alpha male, but I'm never the tail. I'm not gonna be the tail.
Okay. So you will be the rib, not the tail. All right.
And maybe that's why I'm single, and I'm fine with that.
Oh man, we are getting there. All right, Isaiah, I see you over there, shaking and baking. What's so funny, sir? Give me your response. You on mute.
Are you talking to me, Mr. Lajwa?
Yeah.
I mean, it's just funny because I've actually dated like the last relationship I got of, she was an alpha female. Very, very, very dominant. Like she did not like to be pretty much like told like I never like really exactly told her like what to do, but she didn't even like certain feedback, or if I like told her, or she would ask me a certain question and I would give her the feedback how I felt, and then like we would always bump heads all the time, and it just got to the point I'm just like, man, like I feel like me and you can't even grow because it's always like something like you're always bumping heads with me and always bumping heads like with me about certain ways that I move or like certain feedbacks that you may ask me that I may give you. And it like got to the point though, then like one day I'm like, yo, like what's like really going on? Like me and Mr. Bazz, we talked about this. And I ended up figuring out like she had like a very, very kind of like bad upbringing, kind of like with her father and stuff like that. And like she was very like she was like abused and stuff like that. Like she watched her mom get abused and she was abused when she was young by her father. And so it kind of changed like her like perspective on men. So she looked at more men as like a challenge, like I'll never let a man tell me what to do. And like she looked at it as a bad thing. Or like when I'm like, hey, like I'll handle this or I got this, like she would overstep that. And there would be times I'm like, yo, like I told you I got it. Like why are you overstepping me? Because then now that shows me like as a man, like you don't trust me because you're overstepping something that I said I already take care of. So there's like certain situations that like I've dealt with that I can like speak on a lot of things like with her. And like I've been with someone that's like, you know, like super, super quiet. Don't get me wrong. Like I love to be with a female that also can speak up, because if a female's too quiet, then I'm just like, I don't like the aspect of like not being challenged too. Cause sometimes I like my leadership to be challenged because I want to make sure that the person I'm with is happy. But at the same time, if a female I'm with is also way too vocal and always trying to challenge what I'm doing, it's like, now you're saying you don't trust me. So like you were saying, like it has to be like a partnership between it, and the communication has to be there. But at the end of the day though, like if you're going to be with a man, like I feel like you have to be able to trust that person and be able to make those leadership decisions. And it, like if a man says, yo, I got this, I'm going to take care of it, like that has to be, you have to trust and believe in that and say, okay, I'm going to let him handle that and see, and then get that feedback later to see if you followed up on what he said he was going to do. So
okay, now that makes sense. Good insight, young man. I guess with that being said, now I don't know what everyone's religious preferences are, but if you call yourself a Christian, raise your hand. Okay, all right. I see a whole lot of hands go up. Okay.
I mean,
what's this? What is this?
Because okay, so I follow some things in the Bible, but not completely. I consider myself more spiritual than Christian.
Yes.
Okay. Well, for all you believers out there, let me quote you a couple verses from the Bible. 1 Timothy 2:12 says, I do not permit a woman to teach or to exercise authority over a man. She is to remain quiet. Okay? That ain't me. That's in the Bible. All right? Number 2, 1 Corinthians 11:3 says, but I want you to understand that the head of every man is Christ, and the head of every wife is her husband. Okay? And the head of every house is a Christ of God. So, it ain't me. I'm just a messenger. Basically, what it's saying is, it's not saying a woman to tell, I'm not saying that, but it says the man is the head of the house. Here.
Yes.
And I'll add to that, Bazz, because as you quote those scriptures from the Bible, that's how, whether you are a Christian or a faith believer, how you receive your blessings. And to your point, Tamika, you were saying that you're an alpha female and things like that. And I think, Jamil, you also alluded to that what should she do if the man doesn't present himself to be the alpha male of the relationship or marriage? Then you should pray for your mate, which whatever your spiritual belief is, that he is receiving that knowledge and that fortitude from our higher, from our most high, so he can lead you. Because
I agree.
Because that's that order that's that order that you would move in this earthly realm where you will receive your blessings, because you'll be in line, you'll be in what they call an order. So
I agree with that, but also I will say that like Izzy was saying, a lot of us have an upbringing where it's hard to trust men.
Yes.
So at the same time, if I have clues or see something that looks like I'm gonna be led astray, I'm stepping in.
Tamika, I got a question.
And that's been my issue, and I'm very aware of my issues. So I'm stepping in. My alpha is automatically stepping in if I feel like I'm being led astray.
I got a question for you, if you mind me asking. I got a quick, because I've dealt with a situation. So I have a question for you as a female. So is that something for you to work on, or is that something for you to find the right man to help you lead astray out of that situation?
No, it's for me to work on. I have to grow from that, which I have been, and I recognize my flaws. So, but at the same time, I also know, like they say, for instance, an alpha woman should possibly date a beta man. Well, that's absolutely not true. I'll run over a beta.
Yeah.
I can't have a beta as my partner. I'll automatically run all over them. I need an alpha that will put me in the household in the beta position.
One thing I will say, that's something that is generational, as far as the Black woman being the strong person in the family, because it goes back generations. And what we're running into now is we do have strong men that are stepping up and that are being there and doing things, but there's a conflict. So this is what I say sometimes leads to men looking outside of their race, because they're trying to be strong, but sometimes they're going at it with a lot of Black women are so strong, and that's what I love about my Black women, is the strength that they have. But the generations of the woman having to be the strong person, and that goes all the way back. And I know about you can't blame everything, but that goes back to slavery times, when they would emasculate the men, and the woman would get beat or whatever, or they would come and take the woman, and the man couldn't do nothing. So, again, this goes back generations, where now with the men, with a lot of Black men being stronger, coming to be stronger, they do run into a heads-on battle with strong Black women. And you have to be that much stronger to be able to move forward.
Corey, I don't necessarily agree. I think that today's woman doesn't know how to be a housewife. Period. That's what I think. I think that women are not being taught how to be housewives. I think they're being taught how to be career-minded women, which is fine, and so get your education, get your good job, make a lot of money, live your life, get your fancy car, big old house, you do what you do. That's cool. I'm not knocking any of that. But what I'm saying is, teaching a woman how to be a housewife, because it's not a priority anymore. It's going to have to do it.
That's not true. You can be both. You can be career-minded and a housewife.
I'm not saying that.
But how can you be that when you never saw that as an example?
Well, hold on a second, Big O. What I'm saying, I'm not saying you can't do both. I'm not saying you can't do both. What I'm simply saying is that it's not being taught on a regular basis.
So, to answer Big O's question, you can be anything without an example. Don't we have successful men that never had a father?
It depends on what you define as successful.
Well, that's correct. Okay, we'll use LeBron as an example.
Entertainer as an example.
Yeah.
So an entertainer, somebody who entertains as an example, not someone
I'm using him as an example because we all know him.
But the average person is not LeBron.
Exactly.
The average black man is not LeBron. It's not LeBron. That's an exception, not the rule.
So, but you're saying that if I didn't see someone be a housewife, I can't correctly be one? That's so incorrect.
Well, let's do this. Let's do this for the sake of time. Let's go into the Bible. Christ said, let this mind be in you. Christ was the example. How would man and woman come to God's word except by if they had an example? And Christ was the example. That's why he said, let this mind be in you. So he was the example. He was the physical gospel in human form. So the people needed an example to see what would it be like to walk in the footsteps of Christ. So what I'm trying to say is people need an example. You know, I pray, my father's no longer here, but I pray one day I can be half the man that he was, because he was an example to me and my siblings. My mother was a very strong woman. Very strong woman. I mean, I can't even find the words to describe how strong she was. But when it came to being in a household with my father and raising me and my siblings, my mother knew her place in that. And she was a woman. She worked outside the home. She was a very professional woman at that. She was a master seamstress. She also had her own catering business. I mean, the woman was phenomenal. And she did those things that women do today that's outside the home, but she also knew how to balance it out within the home. And what Jamil is basically saying, which I concur what he's saying, is women of today do not, for the vast majority of them, do not know how to be a housewife.
Big O, can I kind of go in on that, since I'm a little younger, so I feel like I can kind of give like a little younger feedback.
Please.
I mean, and then honestly, the sad part is they don't have to anymore. And the reason is because I mean, just look at the multimedia. You got like artists, like I'm an entertainer myself. So I'm in that business. I've met like bigger like artists like Ruby Rose, different artists like that, being around a lot of these female artists. And now like the whole narrative is like switching pretty much onto this, you saying like you don't need a man, you can make your money how you want to make your money. And pretty much like your body is your body and you can sell that, you can make as much money you want, you don't need a man. And I'm not saying that's okay. Like it's pretty, to me personally, it's sad, but now the narrative is switching because these girls that are growing up are like different women that I talk to. These are who they look up to. So people look up to people like Cardi B or like
exactly.
But they don't really understand at the end of the day, even a lot of this stuff is number one entertainment. A lot of these women that are saying X, Y, and Z aren't even following the stuff that they even put in their music or the stuff that they're putting out. And people wonder why, like when they hit a certain age, okay, I want to be loved X, Y, and Z. Like I want to find a man that respect me, but they don't understand like this is what they're looking up to. So this is how they're acting and this is how they're moving. But now they want a man to respect them a certain way, but now they can't have that because that's all they know. And now it gets to the point of just like, okay, so if a lot of like the women that I know personally are like getting raised by TV screens and like through music and makeup and certain models, and they feel like this should be a certain way. So it's like, as men, it's like, even as men, it's like, is it our job to like, once like we start getting to that level of like marriage to monitor that, to make sure that, you know, the women, like our women are being put in certain situations so they know how to be a woman, but also at the same time, our women still have to be able to teach that. And so it's like, it's kind of a tricky situation. So it's like, I'm asking you guys, if you guys been, you know, a little bit older, like how do we control that pretty much? Is that even our control?
You know what, I'm gonna say something, and this might sound extremely radical. I have to say this because young brother, you made an excellent point. And that's why it's important to have the younger generation in this conversation. And this is going to sound extremely radical. extremely radical, but this is not a program to beat up women or anybody. This is to help us as a people. The best thing I can say for the younger generation today, because I have a son who's going on 17 this year, the best advice I can tell you young brothers is find you a girl that's a virgin. See, look, my sister, my dear sister. Sister, like, she in the rocket chair.
I go to the Middle East.
I'm serious about that, brother. This is real, because it's real. You know why?
The Middle East.
This is
possible.
No,
maybe
they're out here. They're out here. Believe me, they are out here now. They out here. You just got to know where to look. Because see, another thing that's happening, and my dear sister, you got the LGBTQ thing that's exploding out here. And my question is, what are women going to do? Some of you women who are trying to find men, when you got men who are gay, men who are transgender, and this is not an attack on anybody who's like that, but you got a man with all this luggage. I mean, where are you all going to find a partner in the midst of all this chaos? And these people, you know, and they get money from the government. They got international support. So where are you all as women in the vacuum of the LGBTQ movement? Where are you all going to find a man? It's going to get, it seems to me, it's going to get harder and harder. And Jay, that's the conversation that you could probably have in the near future.
Yeah, that is true.
As a program, where is the future of relationships going in this society with the explosion of the LGBTQ movement, particularly for those people who are straight?
Well, you know, it is statistically spoken on blackdemographics.com that says that you can take every black woman in America and marry them. I'm sorry, every black man in America, straight, gay, whatever, have them get married, and there will still be 2 million black women single.
Mm-hmm.
Because there's more black women than there are men, obviously. Right?
And maybe those are the ones that know how to be housewives.
So understand, what I'm saying is that it's not, I'm not saying that a woman, today's woman can't be a housewife and be multitasking. What I'm saying is that it's not being shown. For example, let's take Candy Burrs, right? Big Boss, Candy Coated Nights, all her different stuff. She went and got her ass a beta man, Todd, a broke ass cat that she put on to make sure and made his punk ass sign a prenup. Okay, so that's an example in my eye that an alpha female to make sure you got her beta male and made him sign a prenup so he can't have any of her alpha money if something wants to go south. That's just my example. Go ahead. I see you shaking your head. You know, I love you. Go ahead. Give it to me.
No, I'm just shaking my head because not me. I'd rather stay single. I'm not going to be with a man that I can run over.
Yeah, I respect that. I respect it. You want your better. I get it. You want your level higher. I get that. That's totally understandable. That's totally. But the problem is, a lot of women are raising beta men. That's the problem. That's the problem. A lot of single moms and people out here are raising beta men. Because, yes, a woman can raise a man, but she can't teach him how to fish straight. A man got to teach him that.
Well,
most of these guys shooting up the neighborhood.
Don't completely put that on the woman. If she's raising them single, she's doing the best she can. Where are the men?
Exactly.
Well,
exactly.
I will say this.
If they're beta men, the cycle repeats itself. Right? Exactly. If they're beta men, then the cycle repeats itself for the next generation. And the next generation. Because you know why? That man who should have stayed his ass at home to help raise his son felt something else better to do in the streets. And so his mom had no choice but to raise her boy the best she could. And so it repeats itself. It's a generational curse. And that's what it kind of comes down to today. I'm not saying all the men out here, I'm just saying that it is a learned behavior.
Generational curses can be broken.
Sure.
And I won't use a celebrity as an example, but I've seen men grow up with alcoholic fathers and grow up knowing that's not what they want to do. That's not how they want to raise their families. They do opposite of what they saw and pretty much taught. So generational curses can be broken.
Exactly.
I definitely I agree with that. But at the same time, like me, like I come from like a super split family. Like my parents split, my stepdad and like my mom split. But at the same time, though, I still had a father figure in my life who was like quote unquote like an alpha male who took me in like as three. Like he was my mom. You know, I was not his child. He was an alpha man. He looked at me as his own, and he raised me to become the man I am to be today. And now, like I take it very seriously of like breaking that generational curse of like finding a woman who I truly love, finding a woman not having a baby out of wedlock. Like really, like truly finding someone who I truly love to break that generational curse to be able to actually have a family, not have a split family. They can see their mother and father every day. They have something that can be healthy, and I take very big pride in that because I want something that's different than one that I had. But even though I did want something different, but at the same time though, I got a little example of that because I still had someone in my life who's a father figure for me, and even though it may not quote unquote be that father that they may need, but I think every man needs a father figure. So even if you are a single mother, there may be an uncle that may show that that man how to grow up, or it may be that counselor that they may be struggling in school that shows them how to be a man. Like I personally feel like and you may disagree with me, and a lot of females disagree with this, but no, I feel like no female can show a man how to be a man, and that's just the truth.
I don't disagree with that at all.
Okay. All right. So what we're gonna do is before we switch the subject real quick, or the actual go to a different topic, is there anything else anyone wants to add to the whole beta man, head, tail, toss a coin, whatever? Anybody wanna?
Well, I just wanted to briefly say, when you talk about a beta male, that can be somebody with or without money or finances. For example, you remember the sister that used the Gorilla Glue in her hair? Yeah. That Gorilla Glue that you find in a hardware store? Yeah. The sad thing about it is, I don't know what the status of that is now, but I think she was going to get her a lawyer, a guy to represent her, to sue the Gorilla Glue company. And I was going to say, any lawyer who takes a case like that, a male, he is a beta male. Because somebody needs to tell the sister, first of all, my dear sister, you put an industrial product in your hair that you find in the hardware section of a store. It's not in the beauty supply. And you didn't have enough sense to know that this is for industrial use, not personal use. So any lawyer just had that conversation with her, say, use this as a learning experience. And no, don't put this stuff in your hair next time. It's just that simple.
I have one question though before we move on, Mr. Bazz. Can I ask one question real quick? And this is not for everybody, and this is also for you, Mr. Mika. But do you guys feel that females have privilege now in today's society? And I can kind of go in on that if you.
I would agree to some. So yeah, and yeah, absolutely. I would agree. And this has happened since the feminist movement, since the late 60s. I would agree with that.
And I wouldn't say maybe like privilege in the workplace, but I just like kind of notice like certain situations like with me, like me like talking to a certain female, like, so if there were certain things that like I've been with very abusive females, like I'm not gonna lie, like I'm just gonna keep it just blunt and straightforward. Like for an example, like I've been with females that like think it's okay to put their hands on a man, and that's why I had to leave them, because they feel it's okay to put their hands on men. But if I did the same exact thing, I would be in handcuffs, I would be arrested, and I wouldn't even be on this podcast right now. So I just think there's like also a double standard right now, and also like there's like a feminist movement and like privilege with females that isn't okay. And I think there's like a very big double standard that's really starting to like happen right now in the American society.
What let me just say this. Just answer this, because the brother has an excellent question. And as you all know, a woman can go out here. She can have 5 children from 5 different baby daddies, and she can get medical. She can get housing. She can get money from the government to support her and her children. But if a brother the brothers who got her pregnant, the system would all look at them as deadbeat dads. You know, you went out and you got this woman pregnant. You didn't do this and you didn't do that. You know, I don't have any daughters, but I have nieces. And one of the things that I would always try to stress to my niece, because I have a niece right now, she's 10 years old, going on 11. And I have to be careful on how I share things with information. But when it gets to a point, I'm going to teach her, you never open your legs to a man that you're not married to. Straight, cut, dry, and to the point with no chaser. You never open your legs to a man that you're not married to. If he don't want to put a ring on your finger, then I wouldn't even, leave it alone. Because oftentimes when these young girls go out here and get pregnant, they become victims. And the boy, he becomes the problem, where you need to do this. Why did you do that? Why, you see. So I think, again, everything starts at home in terms of teaching. It's very important. And when we teach, it's done out of love, not out of hate or spite, but out of love. That's the key itself. We have to teach them when they're young.
I agree with that, coming from a household with no dad. So you don't hear stuff like that. So it's taken me till 40 to get that realization, to no more men till I'm married. We never heard that at 13, 14, keep your mind off the boys, stick into school. And you may hear it from your mom, but you never get that male voice and structure. So it's almost like black girl lost, she's probably seeking the love that she wanted or could have had from her dad, from these men.
Also, Tanika, too, I wouldn't even just say it's a black girl thing too, because like my ex is Middle Eastern, and if you I'm very kind of cultured of things like that, and also I see a lot of Middle Eastern culture. Obviously, a lot of the Middle Eastern women, they don't really have the rights. They don't have a lot of rights, just in Saudi Arabia, women were allowed to drive literally last year, legally are allowed to drive. And so a lot of times I see a lot of with Middle Eastern women, when they do come to America, or they're more Americanized too, they have more of this pushback against men because, oh, my father didn't allow me to wear this, my father didn't allow me to do this, my father, and then they see how their mother is, they're why don't you speak up? You see what's wrong in the household, why aren't you saying anything? Why are you allowing this to happen? And now you get this pushback of against men, oh, well, I don't need a man, or oh, I want to make this much money, I don't need a man. Or even when they do date a man, they can't even have someone even say something to them, because I had a female, one time we were arguing, she was you remind me of my father, you remind me of my father. I'm but I'm that's crazy. She's saying that in a bad connotation. It should be the opposite. It should be hey, if I remind you of your father, I'm thinking that's a compliment. Hey, we about to get married. All right, bet, I'm your father. All right. But now it's you remind me of my father in a negative connotation. I'm that is an issue. A major issue. If you're arguing me, saying you remind me of my father. That's
and
crazy.
Unfortunately, that sounds like female learned behavior.
One thing I will say, like me, I married my wife. She had 2 kids, and I took them in as my own, and I had 2 kids before also, and my daughters, I took my daughters on dates. I showed them how a man is supposed to treat them. I sit with them and did homework. I sent flowers to their school. I did things, and to this day today, I will say my daughter graduated chemistry degree, going back to be a physician assistant, working for a surgeon in Atlanta. My other daughter, she's working on her doctorate of pharmacy, and they both will tell you that, my one daughter only introduced me to one person before the guy she got married, and my other daughter, she's only did introduce me to one person and told me she's not introducing anybody to me until they're worthy, and she hasn't met no one worthy. But I made it available for her to call me up in her time of vulnerability and be able to listen to her, let her know I'm there and things like that. So as a father, you have to show your daughter how they're supposed to be treated, and then that's the type of person they're gonna get. You know, what's funny, and Eric knows, my daughter's husband, he resembles me, but I will say he is the best husband to my daughter because he treats her with the utmost respect, and he goes over and above to help her realize her dreams, because that's what I did. So that's what my daughter searched for. So it's again in how you teach your kids, how you, just like you teach your boys, you teach them to be respectable to women, and then that's the way they're going to be. So again, we have to step up as men and do that. And that's one thing I will say, you know, when you date your daughter or you treat your daughter, you show her how a man's supposed to treat her. You ain't got to be with her mother to show her how a man should treat a woman. Then that's the type of person she's going to surround herself around.
Well, that's true. That goes back to what we said before, part of that learned behavior. You know what I mean? You know, but also at the same time too, women have more power. Y'all kind of sneaky with y'all, the power y'all have. And what I mean by that is this, okay? There are 4 ways women can actually control men. And we don't even know it at all, right? There are 4 ways that they can do that. And one of them is kind of like treating men like children, right? Now, what I mean by that is like, for example, let's just say, women wants to go to the grocery store, you know, I'm going to the grocery store, I'm going to do laundry or something, you know, and basically saying that the man steps up and saying, well, I can do it, you know, or, you know, I can go, and they're like, well, no, because you don't do it right. Well, wait a minute, you know, show me what to do, you know, I'll just do it myself. And sometimes we as men, we're like, okay, you know, we just go with the flow, and we don't even realize that's what they're doing, you know, or some women, I just say, oh, but some women do that. Women also control us by getting quiet on us, right? Now, Nick, I'm going to ask you a question. How many times have you had a disagreement with your person you're in a relationship with, or something happened and you just went dark on them? Like, you feel like talking? You don't.
I can barely hear you, Jamil.
Okay. Can you repeat that, right?
I apologize for the listeners out there. This is Mike. It's okay. It's the first podcast. Next time I'm going to use the good old $400 mic over here. Can you hear me now? Got me speak up?
Well, yes. I just need you to repeat the question.
But what I was saying was,
I heard most of it.
Women get quiet on us, right? Has there been a time in your relationship when you have went quiet on the man, didn't feel like talking, didn't want to be bothered, distanced yourself from him just to get a rise out of him?
Yeah, of course.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Exactly. And he didn't even know you was doing that just so that he could respond and accommodate you. Right? Okay.
And my baby just came in.
It's okay.
And then I'll put my butt on him in the bed and still don't talk to him.
Exactly. So now he got to walk around here with his manhood at attention, you know what I'm saying? And he can't do nothing about it. But see, y'all, another third thing too, number 3 is flattery. Y'all will flatter a man to buy you a drink, to do something around the house, to take you shopping, to do whatever it is. Am I right? And we so stupid, we don't even know it. Baby, you smell good. You look good. Honey, you know, whatever. Oh, no, sure. Why don't you take that trash out for me? Oh, sure, baby, I will do it, yeah, or whatever. You know, it's like a Jedi mind trick, right? Y'all do it now. And number 4, one thing that y'all do that we don't like, but we do respond, and that is comparing us to other men. And now when I say that now,
I don't do that.
Well, I'm not saying all women. I'm saying some. And men don't like that, but sometimes women do it indirectly. Let's say, for example, it could be a TV show, Atlanta Housewives, Mob Wives, one of them fucking shows out there I don't even watch. And they could say, oh, you know what? You see him over there, honey? He's loving on his woman, and he's hugging on her. And that show looks so nice that he's loving all on her. Now, you ain't telling him that Bobby's going to the gym and working out more than you, or so-and-so got a promotion at the job. What you're saying indirectly is you want that too. Right?
Okay, you got me.
Exactly. So we see that, and then we'll come over and give you a hug. Or we go to bed or something, or give you a smack you on the ass or something, or whatever, just to get a rise out of us at that moment. So women y'all got y'all ways to be manipulative. Look at it, I'm trying to say the word right. And without telling us, or am I right? Yes?
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. So does anybody want to else add to that before I jump to the next segment?
Well, I was just going to say just briefly, I enjoyed the conversation. I got to get out of here in a few minutes. And, I really enjoyed this, and we have to do this again.
Yes, for my friend, my brother. By the way, that Izzy Palmer is David Palmer's son, by the way. So I thought I would share it with you. Yeah, before you go. So
it's never a dull moment.
Never a dull moment. Isaiah, Big O went to school with your father too.
Oh, he was my dad?
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah. Yes, because Big O is my older brother. So he's
really? Wow.
Yeah, I've got more hair than him. All
right. Don't worry, you'll get there one day.
All right.
You'll get there one day.
This is something you got to sign off. All right. Now,
okay. All right. Hey, right. You all take care now. Thank you for everything.
All right, Big O.
All right, then. You all take care. All right.
Okay. So let's talk about this real quick. We're going to end it with children. Okay. Like I said, men are the provider, priest, and protector. But sometimes children can kind of get in between them. And what I'm saying is this. The proper order, operation, with God, you, the spouse, the children, and everything else going in between. Am I correct?
You are correct.
Individuals put God, themselves, the children, the spouse, and everything else. Or sometimes the spouse is number 4 and the job and career is before them. So the question is, in this world of being men and we doing our job, where do we really fit in that equation? We know what we want to be, but where are we really? Because, let's say, for example, Tamika, you have children, right? And let's say you met a man, he is alpha, he is doing all the right things, loving your children, being a good father, role model, protector, and everything else in between. And he's doing a great job. And you've been with him for years, but then your daughter comes home and says, Mommy, you touched me.
Oh, that is so not fair.
I'm just asking the question. Now, everything he's done, then went to shit. Because you're torn between what was said and what was actually done. Right? So what I'm saying is, in so many words, is children have more power than we think. Am I right? Please, anybody chime in?
Well, you gotta understand the children are, they're not asked to be in anything. They are here, and as a parent, you are the protector for those for your kids. You are that last line of defense for your kids. So if anything, and as a man, I'll be the first to tell you, one of my biggest fears is if I get a call from one of my daughters saying somebody laid hands on them, because you might as well just go on and call the police and say, look, he driving that up 75 right now, pick him up before he crosses the state line, because it's on. So, that's just that protection that you will always have for your kids. So your kids have a lot of power, more power than people try to make it out. But then it comes to some point where if you raise your kids right, then they step back. And that even goes for me. My mom and her husband, my stepfather. I'll be the first to tell you, at first me and him had issues, and I was more than willing to tell him, look, something happened to my mom, your family gonna wear black, but then I had to take a step back, and my mom said, look, my mom had to check me, and I had to check myself to say, okay, this man, I'm not there, so he's respecting and he's doing everything to make my mom happy. I need to take a step back and let her have her happiness and not be involved in that. So, my mom raised me to the point where she was able to check me and got me right. And now I love him like, I call and I'll talk to him and hang up and be like, oh, I got to call back because I forgot to talk to my mom, so it comes to that point where you have to teach your kids, at some point you got to let them go and they need to let you go.
And that makes good sense, Corey. I guess overall what I'm saying, and I use that example just as an example, what I'm really trying to say here is that children have more power than they know. But we as men and as parents and in relationships, we have to keep children in their place. That's all, because obviously me being a stepdad, to girls, that has been somewhat of a challenge in some spaces, what I'm saying? But prayerfully, and thank goodness that I've given my wife a peace of mind, what I'm saying? And I don't even let little girls, spend the night over here with them. I don't play that. If I ain't got another adult with me in the room or in the house, then that ain't even happening in this household, right? So basically what I'm saying in so many words is we have to maintain power as parents and as men in our household, and of course as women, and we have to make sure that we understand the order of operation, period. That's just, there ain't no nothing else said about that. Now, before we close out, is there anything else that anybody wants to add or contribute to that part of the topic?
So I always get a lot of kickback from women on this issue when I, the scenario of who gets the plate first.
Mm-hmm.
And I say that the man does, and the reason I say that he does is because he's the provider, and he's gonna make sure there's enough food for the whole table. Therefore, he still gets his plate first. The order of operations where the women always say, no, the kids eat first, the kids eat first. I get a lot of kickback from women on that because I'm like, no, they don't. And I think that also helps show the kids some, the respect and the order in the house.
Yeah, that's kudos. Two thumbs up, exactly. But some folks don't get that. Some folks they don't understand, it's like, keep the kids first, and if you do, like, wait a minute, shit, paying the mortgage over here. Can I, you know, I'm making sure we got a place to cook and eat and stuff like that. Oh, so in some ways it's not a big deal. But one thing that I haven't done in years is make my own plate. I don't really believe in making my plate, and that may be somewhat kind of maybe selfish in that space, but I don't. You know, so, and I will if I have to, obviously, but still, I just, if there's a meal being cooked or whatever from home, you know, obviously, my plate gets made, you know, so, yes.
Mr. Shabazz, it's so funny that you say that because, like, my whole life, like, my mom, she cooks, like, my dad's plate, yeah, his plate first, my plate was always second. So, like, going to college, like, a big cultural shock for me because, like, you know, I have girls be like, hey, let me come cook for you and stuff like that. And I'm like, all right, like that. And then I would just sit there and I'm like, so go ahead, like eat. And I was so used to the aspect of just like having my mom make my plate. And I'm like, yo, like you're not gonna make my plate. And like I've actually like got into it like with females because they did not make my plate because that's like what I'm just used to my whole life. Like I'm used to making my plate. And like females, like they were like, yo, like what do I look like making a man's plate? Like what do I look like? Like
bingo. Don't know how to be housewives. Bingo. That exactly.
Nah, you're not lying.
That's what we're talking about.
Y'all gonna stop putting that on all women though, because that's some BS. I'm sorry.
We're not putting it on women. We just saying there's a lot out there that just don't like. I'm in college too, though, so like the game is like it's mad different. You know, I'm not gonna lie. Like the girl I talked to recently, she would make my plate though. Like, but like a lot of girls, like they just don't like. It's just a lot of stuff that I grew up on. Like it's just like a lot of those old habits that like, I guess are quote unquote now a stereotypical female, which I don't think anything's wrong with that, but they look at it as just like being weak. And a lot of the girls that I talk to, I'm like, yo, there's nothing wrong with like serving a man and because at the end of the day, like I'm still gonna serve you. Like when you need me there, like when you need me, like I'm still there for you emotionally, I'm there for you financially, I'm there for you. And like obviously I'm not married, I don't have kids, obviously, so I'm not on that type of level. But people look at like females nowadays, like the game has changed. Like females look at that nowadays as being weak, and I feel like honestly, like if you can serve a man but still be able to communicate, I feel like that's stronger than any other woman than like I know. Period. Honestly, but that's just my input.
Thank you, Isaiah. Tamika, you have a bit of old school soul in you, so you understand exactly what it is to do. You know, you've been a wife and you understand what happens with that, right? Mm-hmm. So I want to work with you on maybe doing a joint podcast and titling the podcast "Make My Plate" or something.
Make my plate.
Yeah. Because what I want to see is the mindset of young ladies who believe that is some sort of slave mentality type beast over a man, making you feel weak, when that should be something that should be somewhat natural, especially if you're in a relationship with someone that knows and loves you. So that's we'll talk about that. You know, stay tuned. That's coming soon to a podcast near you. So
okay.
I want to share that.
I'm with it because I mean, there's absolutely nothing wrong with that at all. It's a must. Yes. Actually, it's a must.
And I think it'll do justice because it's a need. And, you know, as a young man alluded to, it's a lot of women out here that just don't get it. You know, they don't think it's appropriate. They think that they may be looked at as more weak and not being a strong woman. So I think if you guys get together and create that content, it'll be definitely useful.
Well, thank you, Eric, for closing this out. I do appreciate you guys very much for being part of this first time video streaming podcast. Part 2 of this series will be what is a high value man. That is coming. God. Part 2 of this series, and the Men on Fire is what is a high value man.
I have to listen to this one.
And the high value men.
The 5%ers, that's what you could call them.
See, try.
8% exploring his options.
Man.
There you go. There you go. Well, thank you all very much. Thank you, Isaiah. Thank you, Corey. Thank you, Eric. Thank you, Tamika. And this is Men Speaking Out. And check us out on menspeakingout.com, as you can see. And we appreciate you all very much. Thanks a lot.
Have a good one.
Enjoyed it.
Bye.